A trick I now want to show you is threading your needle, and sometimes, or a lot of times, it's a lot easier than just taking your thread and just kind of trying poking it through your needle and saying it's not going, just not having any luck. Sometimes pinching it close and wiggling it back onto it over top, going back and forth, that can help you get it on, but sometimes it doesn't catch all the threads like it didn't here. So let me show you another trick, is to fold your thread over and pinch it, and then push down on your needle as you wiggle it, kind of going back and forth onto it and then pulling it through. That generally works pretty well a lot of times. So now to start your thread, you're going to knot it once again. So you do a loop, one thread over, up through the end, leaving a little bit of a tail. Okay. To help you sew a straight line, you can take a piece of chalk, use a ruler, and mark out a line on your fabric. This will be able to be rubbed away after you are completely done and shouldn't be noticeable if you choose a light color chalk. Alright, so here we are going to go over how to do the running stitch, which you'll see right up here. We've done this now on cardboard once, but now we're going to transfer it to fabric, which is a little different because there's not marked out holes for you to go. Something that you want to keep in mind is your spacing. You want to be careful to try and keep your running stitch equal lengths apart from one another. If it would be helpful to put dots with chalk, you can do it. Do not do it with pencil or marker or anything that's permanent, but you could do chalk that rubs away. Now you want to start from the back. So you'll see here we have our overlap here to tie around our dowel. I'm going to put my needle up from the back, starting about the equal distance apart like I've been doing with my running stitch. And I want to give myself a border, meaning leaving some space from the edge of my fabric. In fact, I could leave it a little wider than that, but looking to where I went there, I'm going to keep it about in that spot. I'm going to pull my needle all the way through. You'll notice I already put my knot on the end, so I can just give it a little bit of a tug and make sure that the knot is on the back side. And both equal. Now you can see I have a loop here with my thread. It's a little uneven, so I'm just going to pull the sides, both sides of the thread, until that loop comes out. And now it's gone. Okay, and then I just go back under and kind of like an inchworm, I'll weave in and out, but I will give myself snug. You can see how the yarn's twisted, so the thread, so I'll just pull on both sides until it makes it nice and smooth. And then come back up, making sure to leave this space. I don't want to get too close to the edge, so I might have to move my needle over just a bit. Sorry if that was blurry without realizing it. Check my back to make sure that it's good. There's not any gaps, because back here I can see I left a loop by mistake. I didn't double check it. So you want to go back and forth all the time. I think what you want to think about being careful is not pulling this too hard so that your fabric crinkles. If that happens, just pull it back out so you'll stretch it the length of your fabric. So now we're going to start again, and this time we're going to do a basic running stitch with a tassel, as well as talk about how whatever level you are. If you're a beginner, do the basic running stitch. But if you are an advanced beginner or novice even sewing, start playing around with your stitches. You do not have to do a basic running stitch. You could try the French knots like in one of the videos. You could French knot, running stitch, French knot, and alternate to make a nice pattern. You could also do like crisscrossing and different things. So I'm going to just kind of play around making my own pattern design on here between this tassel and my next tassel. So again, since I'm starting, I'm going to go from the back of my fabric, pull through so I know that my knot is meeting the end of it. And this time I'm going to try to do a chevron or a zigzag pattern. So this is where I use basically the running back stitch that we talked about before. So I'm going to go down to zigzag, and I'm going to go back up into that point that I originally had. So something that I'm noticing is I am going upward, so that just tells me I really should have drawn a line straight. So I'm going to take a break there and draw my line using chalk.
Perseverance, guys, perseverance.
Now to end your thread, you're going to make a loop that crosses over. You're going to bring your needle up through the back side, so you should have your front thread in over top. Your back side, you're going to bring your needle through, and before you pull it tight, you're going to put your thumb around the loop here, push it down next to the very base of the thread where it attaches to the pillow. And you'll notice I am putting my thumb on the side of the thread that's closest to the pillow so that the loose thread can still slide. I'm going to put it down there and then just keep tugging. Go slowly because you do not want a knot in the middle of your thread out here. You want to try to get your knot as close to the pillow as possible. So you're going, or not pillow, hanging fabric. So then you're just going to pull it in and put your thumb down and let's tug and then get it to finish off. You can even slide it through your fingers as you push it towards the fabric. One knot for this thread because it's thicker should be sufficient, and then we will cut that off. So this is an experiment. I'm going to tie my tassel onto my needle thread. Just put it on there before I put my knot in it. Then I'm going to go ahead and put my knot in my string. I'm going to move my tassel down to the base of my knot so he's all secure on there. And then I'm going to go to the corner where I want my tassel to go hang. I'm going to start in the back of my fabric. So just to make sure, that's my front. So I'm coming up from the back. Pull it up all the way. That will allow my tassel to dangle. Now you can go back, leave a little space, and just do like a little bit of a mini running stitch. Go back. I want to teach you, if you don't want to do something a little more advanced, called a French knot. You use this in cross stitch, so maybe some of you have done it. You're going to put your needle, or wrap the thread around it, your needle from one direction, pushing it through, doing a figure 8 around the needle. Okay, so it kind of looks like that in the end. Let me do that one more time. So I'm going to approach it from the left-hand side of my thread. I'm going to wrap my needle around at the same time as I go opposite to the right side of my thread. So you can kind of see that figure 8 if I were to zoom in a little bit, right? And then you have to pull it taut. So let me get it put back. You're going to pull it really nice and taut and then stick it back in. So one more time. Put your needle on the left side of the thread. Wrap around with your other hand to the right side of the thread. Pull tight. Place your needle down into near where it starts to come up. You're pulling tight on your string the whole time. The important part for your French knot to come out right is to pull on the thread as you're pushing it through. So you want your thread to go all the way to the bottom of the fabric, touching the fabric. Hold it there with your thumb and pull it out there. So then it will look like a little big knot, right like that. Okay, it's kind of fancy. You could do that a few times. In fact, instead of just doing a running stitch around your tapestry, you can just do a bunch of French knots along the way, and that's what I challenge you who have been sewing for a while to do. I'm going to do it one more time again, but I want you to practice. If you want to do the French knots, definitely practice. It takes a long time usually to get it done well. So practice on a different piece of fabric.